The Iceman cometh.
Please, show some mercy.
Mercy? I'm afraid that my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy.
Hello, Royals. We have a surprise for you. We have a Jarl deck tech, a pretty spicy one we would like to think. This one is focused on ice. We have had a lot of fun testing this deck. It has been super fun to put together and test. This is pretty much just Unga Bunga Guardian. You'll notice our list is a little different than most. Everybody's been testing a bunch of different things. We decided to focus mostly on ice. You'll see a couple earth cards in here, but they're your usual suspects. So let's get right into it. This is a Crown Providence main board kind of build. Being able to cycle out your arsenal is really great. Basically sink below on a card, never a bad thing. The Jarl specific legendary out of the Armory deck, Gauntlets of Boreal Domain, aka Ice Diddlers. Once per turn action for 2 resources. If an earth card is pitched this way, your attack named Mangle get +2. If an ice card is pitched this way, named Mangle get Dominate, go again, temper 2. It is important to note that if you pitch both, you do get both. So, really great. You'll notice we have some ice and earth cards, and you can just pitch that, and you're good to go. This is really good because the Mangle card is kind of average, if I'm being quite frank with you. This card was like a quarter, if that, prior to this. So, and with good reason, because Crush is kind of weak in this format right now. Rootbound Trunks. I despise Civic Steps. Like, I'm going to just come out and say it to you guys. Like, I am not a gigantic fan of that card. I hate giving my opponent benefits when I am trying to block. And that if you don't do it at the right time, and in some matchups there's never the right time, like you could just lose because you gave your opponent the benefit they needed to overcome your blocks. So Rootbound Trunks, really great. Most of the time this blocks for 2. And honestly, that's right where you want to be. Strictly better than Iron Rot, which was what we were playing before Civic Steps. It is an earth card, so if you decide to go down the Decompose route, you can do that. And there's tons of auras in this deck, so you'll get the token. It's important to note that the token does last the whole time, so if you can start the block with this in the aura, get the embodiment, you can continue blocking, and it adds a lot of block if you block this at the right time on a really wide turn. It'll overperform. Stalagmite. I mean, you got to have this card if you're playing Jarl, man. Like this was an Oldham special. This doesn't block for 2. It says it blocks for 2. It doesn't block for 2. It blocks for like 5 or 6. Like you straight up deny turns with this card. It's good. You'll see it in probably every Jarl list. This is a Summit build. Really like this card. Its only downside is that it costs 6. Maybe that it's a pole arm too, so you can't pummel it, but that's fine. If you're playing a Summit list, you're probably not playing pummel anyway, so that's fine. Heavy keyword. Guardian needed a keyword like this. Like it. So good. Creating a frostbite at the end of the game. This makes it to where they want to block it most of the time. So we are using Tectonic Plate over Tunic. Yes, there's a lot to say that Tunic Like it's a card that's good. Like it's expensive for a reason. I like tectonic plating. Um, it blocks for 3. The seismic surge is relevant in this because of Mangle and because of Spinal Crush and Oaken Old and all the Glacial and Snow Under. Like we have targets for the seismic surge token. Um, I'll go over why it's important as we reach why. Important to note too, we do have Heart of Ice, and this is actually what you play majority of the time. If you need block, tectonic plating. If the hero that you're playing, you know they have D reacts, this is the card you play. Making somebody pay 1 to use their Sink Below is right where you want to be in this deck. And it's important to note this does impact instants, and this does indirectly turn down Tunic for use on your turn. Because they have to pay 1 to activate Tunic, so they get it back, but they still have to pitch a card to do it. So that it takes a card from their hand, which is, I mean, that's great. You'll see in the gameplay video, making somebody pay 1 to use their E-Pot, great. That's right where you want to be. This is the Taxman deck. So Frostbites, making them pay extra resources, everything you want to do in this deck. We're gonna make them work to play against us. Command and Conquer, I say no more about this. Like it's a staple in this game. I hate how expensive it is, but it is very good. Enlightened Strike, same, most versatile card in the game. Mangle, this is why we're here. This picture is what you're planning on doing to your opponent, so gotta have it. One of the ways to destroy equipment in this, and you are trying to destroy their equipment in this, because Jarl is blank text until you get an open zone. Oaken Old, this is standard Elemental Guardian stuff, like really good. Easy to close the game with this. Spinal Crush. This is standard Guardian, like hate on Go Again. Weakest Link. This is the interchangeable card in the deck. We did it because there's a lot of targets with this, and this is targeting aggro. You probably just fold your hat to Illusionist with this deck, but that's been standard for Guardian for quite some time now. Forgetting Unforgiving. This is a really fun card. This is why you prioritize putting counters on stuff. It's a really good card. Like this can bail you out of a bad hand if you play it right. Channel Lake Frigid, pretty standard. This is like the GOAT of ice cards. This is why we're taxing them. It's important. It's funny to note that you do get a Frostbite to them when you play this card, if they have an exposed zone. Channel Mount Eisen. This is a very situational card. You're gonna play it because it's an ice block 3. Like it's awesome. This is really good with Summit. Surprisingly, like it costing 0 made it kind of difficult for you to channel. But you can play this and then Summit, and then you present it at a reasonable turn to them, and they now have to block Summit or they're taking some damage on top of whatever damage it went through. So it helps them prioritize blocking Summit, which is good. Cold Snap. This is our spicy card in this. You won't see this too many other places. You'll see a lot with Polar Blast in this spot. You have an Elf Dominate in this. You have regular access to it with your diddlers. So like it this there was no point in playing Polar Blast. Now there is a point in playing this. Freezing their arsenal is a big deal, and then making them pay 1. Most of the time, this is Winter's Bite 2.0 because you do get to draw a card if it's in your arsenal, which is always great. Most of the time, they're paying, and this card gives you information. If you're pitch a blue, play Cold Snap, and then throw a CNC at them, if they block it and pitch, there's something good in their arsenal, and you need to start making plans to deal with it. Because if they're willing to throw away 3 cards to protect their arsenal, that's telling. Important to note also that Cold Snap gives them a Frostbite for just playing it, which is awesome. Crumble, this card, this is the best turn 1 play, hands down. Putting a counter on their equipment, letting the opponent know that your next attack is coming in with Dominate. It's an Ice and Earth card, so you can pitch it to the diddlers and get both. You have a 3 block here. It costs 0. It pitches for 3. The card art looks awesome. There's no reason not to play this card if you're playing Jarl. Just straight up, there's no reason. Frozen to Death. Mixed feelings about this card. It is a very important card in the deck, I guess. I was struggling with what to say here. It is a 3-card commitment. So keep that in mind. I would never take more than 6 damage to pull this off. Because keep in mind, you are taking damage to pull this off. It gets less and less impactful as the game goes on. The art's sick. Shout out to this artist. If I get this on the playmat, I'll pay a premium. Probably the best follow-up play to Crumble to Eternity is this. I hate that you waste the Dominate, but getting that piece of equipment turns your whole hero on, and that's what you're trying to do. It's important to note that it is an ice card, so it does immediately give a Frostbite when you play it if there's an open zone. Then it replaces the equipment with a Frostbite, so that's awesome. Card's really good. It's just less impactful as the game goes on. Glacial Footsteps, this is access to Dominate. This is filling the Mucho Grande role in most Guardians. You're trying to close out the game. There you go. Icy Encounter, this is a fun one. I've had a lot of fun playing this card. My favorite with this card is to Ice Quake, give them a Frostbite, Icy Encounter, give them a Frostbite, and then present 7 with 2 Frostbites on hit. That's basically telling them to take their next turn off if it hits. Imposing Visage, best card. If you're going to play Jarl, you need 3 copies of this card. I cannot say anything else more important than that. With all the auras in the deck, this is a tutor. And in Flesh and Blood, tutors are great. So I cannot say anything else. Blocks 3, it costs 3. So, it is a commitment again. But let you tutor out every card in the deck. Every aura in the deck. So, super awesome. Pulse, standard, really good D-React. This will help you a lot. It is an Earth and a nice card. It does cost 2, so keep that in mind when you're doing it. But try not to arsenal that card if you can help it. Snow Under, this is probably the weakest blue. It does block for 3. It does pitch for 3. The fusion effect is relevant, but this will be replaced in time as we get more cards that fit Jarl. like this is probably going to be cut and replaced. But it is good for now. Terra Sundered, pretty standard Guardian stuff. A really fun play if they give you a full hand is the Terra Sunder Summit. Like it, they have to respect that card. It is pricey, but man, is it fun. Terra Sundering a Mangle is fun, made possible by tectonic plating. Like card has a lot of applications, and at worst, it blocks for 3. So there's no real downside to it. It's a good Guardian card. Winter's Bite, pretty standard stuff. Like you'll see this probably in every Jarl deck tech too. Discard a card unless they pay 1. It's an ice card, so it gives them a Frostbite. Has Go Again on it. Pretty awesome. All right, now for the spice. Like I said, most of the time you're playing Heart of Ice. Like if I would get one of these if you're contemplating like what to get for the Armory deck. Once you have it, I would recommend you pick up this card. I'm not saying it's the first card you should pick up. I think Stalagmite is probably the first one. Because that card adds a ton of value to the deck. But Heart of Ice is there. Like, this card's really great. Super solid overperformer. On Ice Cap, I really like this card. The more and more I play it. If you block it with Stalagmite, that's 2 Frostbite tokens. If you block it with your Diddlers, that gives them that's 3 block and a Frostbite token. So basically another Stalagmite. So I mean, like you can make some shit happen with this card. So it's solid. If you don't have a Crown of Providence, like this is a good card. So just keep that in mind. Icequake. This is a fun one. This was a different card before. Like I was going through my bulk and I saw this card and I was like, man, like this is probably everything I want to do in Jarl. It gives them a Frostbite, adds 3, and whenever I attack, I make another Frostbite, and it has Go Again. And it does cost 1, but that's okay. Like it fits into the curve thanks to tectonic plating. And let me tell you, ice quaking a CNC or a Spinal Crush or a Mangle, that shit's fun. Like you need to be doing that. That's fun. Pulverize. This is a quintessential aggro guardian, as I stated before. This is like putting heroes on the clock, bro. Like you heat one of these, especially after you've like crumbled to eternity, and you're just holding your middle finger up, asking them if they got it. Like this is a good card. It has a very relevant on hit. Yeah, with all the tax cards you got in here, like this card's fun. You Heart of Ice into Pulverize on your next turn. Yeah, man, you're having a good time. 2 Sink Below. This is we are trying to make room for a third. It might be Insidious Chill, but we're still testing. Insidious Chill was really good into like the longer matchups, especially if you can Imposing Visage this out on turn 1. The only problem is, like I stated previously, like Crumble wants to be your first turn. So like now you have to decide like what you have to. It's just more evaluation on your part. Like how is this going to go for me? Like does Insidious Chill give me more long-term benefit, which it usually will, because you do have just enough fuse cards in here to make that like threatening. That's why it's only a 1 of, or Crumble, and you have to evaluate your whole hand and what your next hand might be. So it asks you a lot of questions, which as the games go on, you play in like a Pro Quest or something, and you're on your 3rd round. You don't want to think like that. Like you want You just want to focus on the moment, and mental fatigue is setting in. So like you don't want to have to make, long forethought decisions. So this might end up getting cut for another sink below to add a little bit more consistency to the deck. We'll skip Chain of League Scans for now. We'll end with this one. Hypothermia. This is the good old take your turn off card. It was banned for a bit. Old Lexi made this miserable. Icelander made this miserable. And guess what? It's just as miserable in this deck for them. Attacks you control can't gain go again. So Brute, some Rune Blades. It's a little less on ninjas, but there is some applications for this card into them. And a good portion of aggro decks are impacted by this card. And it's a nice card, so you give them a Frostbite. So now they have to pay extra, and they only get one attack. Feels good. Snag, this is for new. We'll cover new briefly because it's like a controversial matchup for Jarl. Like, in face value, you look at this, you're like, man, there's a lot of shitty blues I'd have coming at me. But realistically, that matchup is won or lost in your sideboarding. Like, if you don't side out Glacial Footsteps, Snow Unders, Icy Encounter, like, you could probably leave Icy Encounter in here, but, like, I would cut this one over Snow Under. You're gonna have a bad day because they're just gonna recycle these numbers at you. So, I mean, you have plenty of blues on your sideboard here, and even if you don't, you have reds. So, like, you just be smart about your sideboard. You don't want to see Glacial Footsteps coming at you. You don't want to see Snow Under coming at you. You don't want to see Icy Encounter coming at you. And you have just enough reds in here to where you can screw her big time. And Snag is one of those cards that you just tuck in your arsenal, wait till they bonds, let them overcommit, and you just play this card after you've blocked with a piece of your armor. And then you're just standing there with your middle finger up at them and smirking because now their whole turn just went to shit. And that's where you want to be because you make them burn all their resources on like trying to pull this bonds off, and you have the one card answer. You just throw your diddlers in front of the bond so the one doesn't hit. And then you're good to go. And then now circling back, Chant of the Bleak Expanse. This is probably one of the most controversial cards in the deck. This is a very touchy card. This will not let you fuse. This will not let you search out stuff with your Imposing Visage. But this is a very good card versus like Kano and in the mirror. Like this can straight up screw some decks out of their whole turn. And it just requires you to adjust your turn a little bit. Like, just note, if you're putting this card out, you're not fusing. So don't plan to fuse. Don't do any of that. Just, if you have to summit to follow up with this turn because you couldn't do anything else, that's fine. Like, that's fine. Because if this card says you're not Kanoing on your turn, or my turn, like you're not fusing, you're not using that cerebellum processor that you were about to fucking pop off with, like you're not doing that. That's what this card says. So it requires a little bit of adjustment on your turns, but it shuts down other turns. And it's a nice card with Go Again, so you can give them a Frostbite just to the extra fuck you. And so, yeah. And then, we are in AB3 because Kano's a real deck. Most of the time, though, it's just going to be AB1, and that's going to be your Heart of Ice. So it's pretty solid. I mean, I guess into Aurora you'd run Null Rune Boots too, because as much as I like Rootbound Trunks, it's still your weaker piece of equipment. So yeah. So that's the deck tech. following this deck tech is our gameplay video. It is LL Kano. You'll note some sideboarding errors on our part because, like I said, we're still actively testing this deck. You'll see he brought Stalagmite in. You should just side that out versus Kano because you want your hammer to be live right off the bat. And presenting 6 is a lot better than presenting 4. So just be conscious of that stuff when you're playing this deck. This is very aggro guardian. Don't try to do anything else with it. Like, it can pivot a little into mid-rangey, but you are trying to aggro things with this. You're trying to take a bunch of cards and deal a lot of damage. So just keep that in mind. All right, I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay video. There'll be more to come. We do plan on doing another series with Jarl where we just take him through every single hero, and then kind of give our feedback after we are done, and then see where the deck ends up at the end of it. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the gameplay.